Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, an Ebola treatment centre in a town at the heart of the outbreak in DR Congo is torched by scared and frustrated locals in the midst of a health crisis that's claimed at least 159 lives so far and continues to spread. Also, computer science researchers find that data workers from Africa are suffering some of the worst mental health effects of the industry. Many are unsupported as they intercept the gore, rage and tragedy that no one else wants or should see. I speak to one of the report's authors. And in one of South Africa's largest townships, the cookie is crumbling just right. We take a peek inside the oven of a small bakery, helping the job market, particularly for women, rise. But first, communities on the front line of DR Congo's Ebola outbreak are increasingly feeling the strain. With at least 159 people known to have died so far, many cases are in Ituri province, in areas torn between a conflict between the army and M23 militants. Now, managing the spread has also been made difficult by tensions within communities. On Thursday, a treatment centre in the town of Rampoa was torched by angry relatives of a victim of the disease after they were stopped from retrieving his body. Health workers are, across the board, facing an uphill battle to contain both the outbreak and the fear that it causes.
Megaphone in hand, this community activist is marching through Goma, trying to raise awareness about preventative measures to take against Ebola.
We have to wash our hands because this is a disease that's transmitted through physical contact.
Goma is on high alert. One confirmed case of Ebola has already been reported in the city. With about 2 million residents, there's an urgent need to stop the virus from spreading. At this university, temperature checks and regular hand washing have become mandatory.
Health measures must be enforced because there's no vaccine for this epidemic yet. So if we don't follow preventative measures, many people are at risk of dying.
The fight against Ebola is also underway more than 2,600 kilometers away in this laboratory in the capital, Kinshasa. Every day, capsules like these arrive from the eastern part of the country. These ones contain samples that have tested positive for Ebola.
Here we have some samples. There are 6 positive cases.
For several weeks, researchers have been performing sequencing. This is a crucial step in tracing the origin of the outbreak and in attempting to break the virus's chain of transmission.
Sequencing will enable us not only to understand the origin of the outbreak, but also to link the different patients and determine how they infected one another.
While scientists are hard at work in labs, responders are organizing a ground campaign against Ebola. In this warehouse in Kinshasa, humanitarian teams are preparing to send medical supplies to the east of the country.
We're currently preparing the shipment that's due to leave tomorrow. Another shipment will leave after that. We have 8 tons of equipment, medicines and temporary infrastructure. So there you go.
The boxes are full of masks, protection suits and medicines. This equipment is expected to arrive in Ituri province, the epicenter of the new Ebola outbreak, within 24 hours.
Now, there is a very human cost to social media and AI use. The platforms and tools are integral to the lives of billions around the world, but data workers, the ones who moderate content for quality or train algorithms, pay a heavy toll. Many working in the global south do so under particularly difficult conditions, raising ethical issues about certain aspects of the technology central to so many of our lives. Now, a group of computer science researchers have indicated that African content moderators bear some of the worst of the pressures. Nuruddin Ali is one of the authors of the report Beyond Content Exposure. Nuruddin, thanks so much for making the time to speak to me. So first of all, why did this become a particular interest of yours? Why did you focus on this particular problem?
Thank you for having me. So I started working on this. We were studying social media's impact in the Tigray war during the Tigray genocide that happened between 2020 to 2022. So platforms played a key role in that by inciting hate, violence, like denialism. So that was like the main thing that we were studying. And then we started to look at why do platforms fail? Like, why did they fail to protect the communities at that time? And then one way of like protecting the communities and users in social media platforms is content moderation. So we started to look at the content moderation, how it was done at that time, and why did it fail? So that led us to start to understand how like the humans behind like the content that is being moderated like deal with the content and their working conditions and their mental health conditions. So we started to look at the situation, and that led us to understand the severe mental health conditions that they have been operating at that time, and even now they continue to do so. So that's how I got into studying the content moderators' mental health.
And what did you find when it came to African content moderators specifically?
Yeah, in the research that we did, we tried to understand how the content moderators in Africa, their mental health conditions. We found African moderators to have a significantly higher like psychological distress and lower mental well-being than moderators in other regions, such as in Asia and Europe. So that was a very interesting finding.
And why is that?
Something that was being reported. Yeah, because the conditions that we found at that so what we did is we surveyed about 134 content moderators across like TikTok and Meta in Africa, and we also interviewed them. The main reasons were, one of the main reasons is the extreme working conditions that they operate. Initially from the beginning when they get hired, they are not told like clearly about the implications of the work that it could have in their mental health. So they are told like it's a customer service work. So they go to another country to do this work, for example, to Kenya and Ghana. And the other thing is the ineffective corporate wellness programs that they have. So they have like some wellness programs, but it's really, it doesn't sufficiently serve the moderators, basically. And the other main problem is the poor governmental policies that exist in Africa. So, for instance, in EU, there's like the minimum mandated like wage for workers. In the US, for instance, they can skip, like if there is a very graphic content, they can skip it. And also there was like a lot of like lawsuit at that time. For instance, in 2020, they got like the workers won and they got some compensation. So even in Philippines and other like Estonia, for example, they also tell them how the work may impact them basically beforehand, but whereas in Africa it's the opposite. Basically, they are not told this kind of things. And the other additional thing I will add is the African governments, like those countries, they see in order to solve the high unemployment rate, they try to see this like business process outsourcing companies that contract with the social media platforms in order to basically solve this problem. So those are like the combined factors that lead to Africans having a higher psychological distress in this work.
Thank you so much, Nuruddin, for helping us, giving us a bit of an insight into this. I wish we had you for longer so we could dive more deeply, but unfortunately I do have to let you go. Thank you so much. Nuruddin Ali, one of the researchers into the report Beyond Content Exposure. And now we head to Sudan, where a drone strike on the market in a town called Gubesh killed at least 28, leaving dozens wounded this week. Since the beginning of the 2023 conflict, both the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces that they're battling have repeatedly targeted civilians. Bastien Renouy with more.
According to the human rights organization that informed us about this strike, the drone belonged to the Sudanese military, and they say that the military knew that the market was packed with civilians, since it's one of the most important markets in Kordofan, this region located south of Sudan, which is under the control of the Rapid Support Forces. I've seen a video of the aftermath of the strike. We can see dozens of bodies lying on the ground. The area is burnt, and there is a vehicle belonging to the Rapid Support Forces. So some of the RSF members were in the market during the strike, but it's impossible to say if any of them were killed or injured. It's not the first time that a drone targets a market. Between January and April, at least 28 markets were targeted, as well as 12 hospitals. According to the United Nations, drone strikes are now the biggest risk for the civilians in this conflict, with more than 880 civilians killed in just 4 months. And now these drones are flying from neighboring countries. As an example, there is a base in the south of Egypt where drones working with the Sudanese military are taking off to target the Rapid Support Forces. And according to the Sudanese military, there is another base located in Ethiopia, and this time it belongs to the Rapid Support Forces. They are taking off from Ethiopia in order to target military positions.
Since the coordinated attacks at the end of April, the security situation has significantly deteriorated along an important access linking Mali and Guinea. Drivers have been stranded, traders blocked, and families left with no news of their loved ones who'd set out along the road. Caitlin Kelly tells us more.
The family of Usman Balde have been living in anguish for nearly a month. The livestock trader left Conakry to reach the market in Kati, Mali, where he's been sourcing goods for over 20 years. And he's been unreachable for weeks.
In the photo, that's Usman Balde, my father. He left on the 23rd of April, and since then we've been searching. The family's in a state of total distress because we don't know where he is or under what conditions he's being held. All we know is that he was arrested, and since then we've had no news. We haven't been able to speak to him. We know nothing despite all the steps that have been taken. And as you can see, the whole family is worried.
Since attacks by the Al-Qaeda-affiliated group JNIM on April 25th, all traffic between Guinea and Mali has grinded to a halt. At the Conakry bus station, dozens of vehicles are immobilized. Drivers who operate the Guinea-Mali route have been forced to stop work.
When you cross into Guinea, about 70 kilometers past the border, they're there. They'll tell you to turn back. So that's what's hardest for us right now, because at this point, we're not taking on passengers. We're only transporting luggage.
The blockade of this strategic corridor is impacting the local economy. And with Tabaski, the Eid Sacrifice Festival, just days away, businesses are worried.
One of my drivers was stuck there for 2 weeks. Since he came back, I've been holding off. Now I have a truck coming from Morocco headed here. But since it can't get through to Bamako, I'm forced to send all my vehicles through Dakar to enter Guinea. And yet I have a lot of goods for the holidays.
Every year, thousands of tons of goods transit between the two countries through this crucial corridor.
Well, we turn to South Africa, one of South Africa's largest townships, where small bakeries helping the job market rise. In a woman-led business on the outskirts of Cape Town, it has secured a deal to supply British Airways, a breakthrough that the company says will create more jobs for women.
Workers weigh dough by hand, roll it out, cut cookies, and stack trays for baking. Inside this bakery, every tray of cookies represents a paycheck, and for many women here, a lifeline. Khayelitsha Cookies started as a community project aimed at employing women, often excluded from formal work. Now the company has landed an international contract to supply cookies to a major airlines. And every new deal means another woman can be hired.
When we got that first contract a few weeks later, I promise you, we've got a little bell here, an old clock that we actually ring if we get a new sales deal that's going to employ the next woman. Because we know when that bell rings, it means the next woman on the list gets phoned. So it's something very, very special that we do on this side. And when I rang that bell, it was just tears flowed.
The bakery employs around 80 people, mostly women, and many of them single parents. Production supervisor Violet Chabalala says the job has changed lives.
It's nice for us because as a ladies, the things that I realize are single parents. So that means we have a way forward to go, that we can support our kids and then we're not depending to anyone.
The contract came after support from the UK Trade Partners Programme, which helps small Southern African businesses reach export markets. For Khayelitsha Cookies, the latest export order means more boxes to pack and more chances to ring the bell for the next women waiting for work.
That's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.